I think 20 games is a large enough sample size to figure out what in the hell is going on with these Nets and who they are. I brought a couple of professionals to come and discern exactly what the status of the team. New York City is the front office. Let's do this. So I know some of the people who listen to this podcast kind of hate listen. I probably have some of the more provocative points, and the topics on the podcast are a little different than most. We aren't trying to replicate something that's done on ESPN. This is an exploration of content creation and talking about something that I'm passionate about, which is these Brooklyn Nets. So what I did to take a better look at where this team is right now is I brought a couple of professionals on to talk about it. We are about to take a in-depth and look at this team, and it won't be the ravings of Twitter provocateur that I am. It'll be guys who are watching all 82 and breaking it down and building a career of content and creation and doing it independently, you know. So I'm a fan of these guys, and I'm happy to have them on. The first guy I'll introduce, I'll just go in alphabetical order. Is Jac Manuell, right? Jac,
that's the one, man.
Is a pretty amazing dude. But let me bring him in right now and allow him to introduce himself. Jac.
Yo, I think you're using the term professional a little bit lightly, but I will take it. I'll take it to my grave. Jac Manuell, co-host of the Brooklyn Buzz, writer for Nets Republic, and hopefully part of this awesome Nets Twitter family. It's a very cool podcast to now be on with two other Nets Twitter alum. I feel like this is a moment for me, and I'm going to savor it.
Well, we appreciate you, Jac, and we're happy to have you here to come on and chop it up. Now,
thank you, sir.
The other cat that I brought on caught my eye because just in the Nets Twitter stream of influence that is Twitter. I started seeing his team breakdowns on NetsDaily, and I was like, all right, they did it again. They got another young, intrepid guy who's breaking down the team in a way that's useful for fans who just kind of want to figure out what the hell is going on or what they're what are they watching. And it's a young cat by the name of Matt Brooks. Matt, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? And
man, I need you to introduce me for everything. Like, you just talked this up over here. Yeah, I'm one of two film guys on this podcast right now. Jac does a wonderful job with film as well, so credit due to him.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, I spend all day looking at film clips and try to point out little things I see and then weave them together in articles. So, I'm excited to be here. It's good to talk with just two other different perspectives that we've had our interactions, but it's always fun to get on a podcast. I've never talked to either of you two on really any format other than Twitter. So this is exciting for me.
And that's the kind of like the point of the show. Like, what we do on Twitter seems to be entertaining enough. Why not put it on wax? So I'm glad to have you guys on, and I'm gonna go straight into it to put an umbrella on this conversation. I think 20 games is enough to make a rational analysis of a team. And it doesn't mean after 20 games your team is done. Your team is basically what it is. But you could come to a good statistical analysis of the team. So these questions that I've put together is almost like I wouldn't call it a therapy session. It's just a clinical approach to looking at the data or looking at an observation of what the Nets are. So I invite you guys to be candid. That's important to me and the format of the show. Be candid. But, we don't necessarily have to be optimistic or pessimistic or positive or negative. Let's just keep it, all the way real. And let's do some analysis. You ready, guys?
Yes, sir.
Ready.
All right, so the Nets. What can you prove that they do well? Matt, I'm going to start with you because I introduced you first, Jac. Tell me, what do the Nets do well?
Well, the schedule, the season itself has gone through a great deal of ebbs and flows. Early on, they were an elite offensive team with Kyrie Irving, Karis LeVert in the fold. The other side of the floor, not so much the same story. But now that they're in this situation where they're missing players, they've had to bring in some additional help. They're actually a really good defensive team. In their last 7 games, I believe they're a top 8 defensive team right now, which is completely different from being I believe they were a bottom 6 defensive team, maybe even bottom 5 at certain points early on in the season. Again, small samples, but what they've become is a team that I personally enjoy watching way more. I'm somebody that really likes defense. I like fundamentals like that. So, the guys that have stood out to me, Shumpert and Nwaba, just good energy that these guys have provided. Shumpert especially is somebody that gets deflections all over the place. Nwaba is somebody that's kind of like a big-bodied guard. He's an interesting look for really any NBA team, somebody that can go out there and guard a variety of players.
He's more wide than tall.
Right, yeah.
He's extremely horizontal, but he could dunk though. He jumps.
Block. Yeah.
But keep going. I'm sorry.
Great. No, you're good. You're good. Please interject. But Dinwiddie stepped up defensively, and then of course I can't go 2 minutes without bringing up Jared Allen, who I've detailed quite a bit this season. He's made some at first it was slow progression. As of late, it's really immediate progression. He's really stepped up. He's already a great defender around the rim. He's starting to toy a little bit with perimeter defense, and then just his rebounding. It's been crucial for them. So defense, I can't believe I'm saying it because I was killing them defensively.
Tell me, do you believe this? This is completely based on anecdotal evidence. This is just the eye test. But doesn't it feel like Jared Allen plays better when he plays against guys his age? Like he played Bam to stand still. Like against the Baby Bulls, he dominated them. I mean, doesn't it seem like he played like when it's when he gets to those older players and hard to call Embiid an older player, but against Embiid looks like he has old man strength, and I don't know if I 100% trust his birth certificate either. He probably was 26 years old playing in the NCAA's, but nonetheless, do you think that it's been the run of games that kind of have elevated Jared Allen? Is that possible?
I don't think we've seen him play against somebody like Embiid. That'll be they haven't on the schedule yet. So I think that'll be a really good test. Jokic looked kind of up and down. I don't honestly think he's faced a huge test outside of Karl Anthony Towns, which is just a tough matchup for anybody.
Yep.
The one thing I'll notice with him this year is that he's really gone head-to-head against guys that have taken advantage of him in previous seasons. So whether that be Cantor, Tristan Thompson, even Mitchell Robinson a little bit, he's gone at these guys with, I think, a little bit of extra fuel and aggression in a way we haven't really seen from him. We always talk about we want to see a nasty side from Jared Allen. I mean, it's early, but I feel like you're getting that a little bit.
Yep. No, I'm going to have to agree. Jac, same question. What do the Nets do well?
I mean, it's I guess what they've always done well, mate. They shoot the three ball incredibly well. Mm-hmm. They're rebounding well, obviously on the back of Jared Allen, who's one of the best rebounders in the game, and I think now has the best field goal percentage. I'm not sure after tonight's game, so I'm sure Matt might know, but he was at like 66, 67%, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, he was in top 3. He's up there with like Giannis. Luka's way up there too, I believe.
Which is insane for a guard, mind you, but that's for another day. And I think relating to their defense, the way that they defend can be frustrating at times because we always see that big sag off a little bit, really hang out in the paint. And in terms of they give away the mid-range, I think that's changed a little bit. And I think Coach Kenny's allowed some of the big guys and some of the other guys to play a bit more instinctual and defensive end. I think we've seen a little bit less zone. And I think just defensively, the communication, the leadership from guys like Garrett Temple, DeAndre Jordan in spurts, and Jared Allen obviously is a great defender himself. And like Matt mentioned, Spencer has really stepped up on that end of the floor, especially against Kemba Walker in that Boston game. So I think the defense has certainly taken a mark. But ever since Coach Kenny and Sean Marks have come in, the Nets prioritize driving the ball, getting to the free throw line, and shooting the three ball well. And they're doing it well again this season.
Yeah, listen. That is irrefutable. I think the points the both of you guys made there are true. I would like to add, though, that the Nets are so good at what they do, it's almost becoming predictable. They can shoot it from deep if you slack on them, and they dribble drive you to death when Joe Harris and Dinwiddie are on the floor. They hit teams' defenses at these angles, these dribble drives coming across curls that aren't straight down the paint. They hit you at all of these angles. It's just that sometimes NBA defenses are so good they figure you out, right? Coming out of timeouts, Atkinson is amazing. Like I wish I could find the stat that would show how efficient he is in comparison to everybody else. But just on a percentage basis, I think he's one of the best coaches out of timeouts. And the Nets' offensive system is great, and they're great at running it. The challenge for me there is, and we'll talk about that later, is it's just they're so good at it that teams highlight it and almost have started to understand it.
And I think we saw it a little bit just before we move on, mate. I think we saw it a little bit towards the end of that Miami game in terms of, and I think maybe some of that obviously is also the lack of talent down the stretch. You had Karis LeVert and Kyrie Irving in that game. The Nets closed it out pretty easily. But at the end of the day, when you do the same thing over and over again, a lot of the teams do have the same systems. A lot of teams know each other's identities. They don't necessarily have to scout you throughout the season. That happens during the playoffs. But at this point in time, if you're still able to execute for long enough, it's still going to beat the other team. And at the end of the day, the Miami Heat are one of the best defensive teams. They have so much switchability. Bam Adebayo is a beast, Justice Winslow and Jimmy Butler. And their defense was just way too good for the Nets' style of offense at that point in time.
Yeah, I definitely will, and we'll go deeper into that later. I want to stay in the flow of the questions. Jac, I'm gonna stay with you. Describe the team's identity, right? Give me if you were a profiler and had to kind of describe who this team is. Describe their identity for me.
Yeah, so it's based off. It's pretty simple. They shoot the ball. They value perimeter shots. They value getting to the line. They value free throws. When it comes to defense, they'll give you every mid-ranger you want. And they don't care if you hit them. They're still going to give them to you. Now, obviously, that's changed a little bit as of late, and I think that has been a good thing and a good defensive tweak. But that is the emphasis that they place on their three-point shooting and their driving. That's the offense. That's essentially, and obviously, there's a lot of wrinkles to that in terms of off-ball screening and movement and pick and roll. There's a huge emphasis on the pick and roll, obviously. But in terms of what the shots they want to get, they're three-pointers, and they are driving to the line and trying to get the fouls. When it comes to the defense, it's about trying to stop the other team from shooting their threes, trying to stop them from getting to the line, and give away those analytically friendly shots, so to speak. But if you've watched the